This episode was produced by Swidoprod. They're an audio and visual agency. You can find them at www.swidoprod.com. Welcome to True Mind. Get ready for our very first deep dive. We're going to unlock the power of mindfulness and explore how being present can really upgrade your life. Just find a little more peace and relaxation in everyday moments.
Yeah. It's amazing how simply paying attention to the present moment, like without judgment, it can have a huge impact on your mental well-being.
Okay, let's jump right in. We've got a fantastic lineup of sources. We'll be looking at a YouTube video with practical mindfulness techniques, and then some research articles, on digital detox and nature, and its calming effects, and even some insights from the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh.
It's going to be great. Connecting all these different perspectives, we can start to understand how mindfulness can help us de-stress, find moments of calm, and even change how we react to tough emotions.
I'm ready. I'm ready to feel those benefits. So where do we even begin? One of our sources is a YouTube video. It's by the Mindful Movement, and they highlight a pretty simple but powerful technique, using your breath as like an anchor to the present moment.
Yeah. The beauty of the breath is that it's always with us. Like it's a built-in reset button we can use to ground ourselves anytime, anywhere.
That's pretty cool. I'm intrigued by this anchor idea. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Okay, so think about it this way. When you're feeling stressed or your mind is racing, your attention is kind of scattered all over the place. Your breath can act as a focal point. You know something steady and reliable you can bring your attention back to, just like an anchor keeps a ship from drifting. Your breath can keep you from getting swept away by all those thoughts and emotions.
I like that. That's a great analogy. I can see how focusing on something as simple as my breath could help me feel more centered. So what's the actual technique?
It's very straightforward. You inhale for a certain count, and then you exhale for a slightly longer count. And as you exhale, you really tune into your body and notice any tension releasing. By consciously lengthening that exhale, you naturally slow down your breathing, which calms your nervous system.
So it's not just about breathing deeply. It's about extending that exhale to create a sense of calm.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that this simple practice, it brings you back to the present moment, but it also has a physiological effect, easing that fight or flight response that stress triggered.
Okay, I see. I'm starting to see how powerful the breath can be. But, let's be honest. In today's world, finding moments of peace, it's tough. We're constantly bombarded with notifications, updates.
Yeah, you're right. That constant digital connection can make it really hard to be present, which of course contributes to stress and anxiety. We have a research article here, a comprehensive review on digital detox, and it explores this idea.
Okay, so what's the solution? Are we supposed to ditch our devices completely?
Well, the research suggests that even short breaks from technology can have a surprising effect. Many people find that disconnecting, even for a little while, is surprisingly enjoyable.
Seriously? I would have thought it would feel like torture. Why would anyone actually enjoy disconnecting?
I know, it's funny. But what's really interesting is that the research found that people who went on digital detoxes actually experience feelings of pleasure and relief. The study suggests that this is partly due to a reduction in information overload. When you're not constantly bombarded with news updates, demands on your attention, your mind has a chance to kind of relax and reset.
Okay. That makes sense. I guess it's like giving your brain a break from all the stimulation.
Exactly. And while the study acknowledges that there can be challenges, like feelings of isolation or boredom, the overall impact on well-being seems to be incredibly positive. People report better sleep, improved mood, and even stronger relationships.
Wow. Okay, I'm starting to think a digital detox might not be such a bad idea after all. But if we're disconnecting from our devices, what do we do with all that extra time?
Well, that's where the magic of nature comes in. Remember that research article, Associations Between Nature Exposure and Health? It shows how connecting with nature can be a really powerful tool for cultivating mindfulness.
Are we talking about a full-on wilderness retreat?
No. It doesn't have to be that extreme. Even small doses of nature can make a big difference. The article even talks about forest bathing, which is this Japanese practice of immersing yourself in the sights and sounds and smells of the forest. It's been scientifically proven to boost immune function and reduce stress.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah.
I can definitely see how losing yourself in nature could help you just forget about your worries and be present. But is there evidence that even a quick trip to the park can have an impact?
Absolutely. The study found that even short exposures to nature, like a walk in the park, or even just looking at trees out your window, can have a positive effect. It can improve mental well-being, enhance cognitive function, and even speed up recovery after surgery.
Wow. So even if we can't escape to the mountains, a little bit of greenery can go a long way.
Precisely. And it all comes back to mindfulness. When you're in nature, you naturally become more present. You're paying attention to the sights, sounds, and sensations around you. You're not dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. And that's a key element of cultivating a more peaceful state of mind.
I think I'm starting to see a connection here. Maybe disconnecting from our devices allows us to be more present in the same way that immersing ourselves in nature does.
That's a great point. It highlights the idea that mindfulness isn't just about, you know, formal practices like meditation. It's about bringing awareness to any moment, any experience, and finding that sense of presence in everyday life.
So we can find moments of peace and relaxation,
Yeah.
even in our busy tech-filled lives.
Absolutely. And there are even more tools and techniques we can explore to help you cultivate that sense of presence and peace.
I'm ready. Let's keep going. I'm eager to hear what other insights we can uncover.
Let's do it. We were just talking about how nature and digital detox can help us be more mindful. It's all about creating space for presence, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
And I'm really starting to understand how mindfulness can be like woven into everyday life.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, putting it into practice still feels a bit daunting. Like, where do we even begin?
Well, Thich Nhat Hanh, you know the Zen master we mentioned earlier. He offers some incredibly practical advice. He emphasizes that mindfulness isn't just about formal meditation. It's about bringing awareness to every aspect of your day.
Oh, okay. So like being mindful while washing the dishes or taking a walk.
Exactly. Thich Nhat Hanh calls these mini meditations. He suggests, for example, bringing your full attention to something as simple as taking a shower. Feel the warmth of the water. Notice the scent of the soap. Just really be present with the experience.
I love that. It's like turning a mundane chore into a moment of mindfulness. What other everyday activities can we transform into these mini meditations?
Oh, there are so many. Eating is a big one. Thich Nhat Hanh encourages us to slow down, savor each bite, and truly notice the textures and flavors of our food.
Oh, man. I'm so guilty of eating lunch at my desk while I work. I barely even taste what I'm eating half the time.
Yeah, it's such a common habit in our multitasking culture, right? But mindfulness invites us to single task, to bring our full attention to one thing at a time. Even walking can become a mindful practice. As you walk, pay attention to the sensations of your feet on the ground. Notice the movement of your body. Feel the air on your skin.
These are great reminders. It's like hitting the pause button on autopilot
Yeah.
and actually tuning in to what we're doing and how we're feeling.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Exactly. And remember how we talked about the benefits of nature? Even if you can't escape for a long hike in the woods, you can still bring elements of nature into your daily life.
Having plants in your home.
Exactly. Studies have shown that even having plants in your living space can reduce stress and improve well-being. You could also try listening to nature sounds, like bird song or ocean waves. Those can be incredibly calming. And of course, even a few minutes of sitting outside and consciously connecting with nature can make a world of difference.
So it's all about making mindfulness accessible, even in the midst of our busy lives. But what about those times when we're feeling overwhelmed by stress or negative emotions? How can mindfulness help us in those moments?
That's a great question. That's where Thich Nhat Hanh's teaching on transforming difficult emotions comes in. He suggests that we think of those emotions as visitors, not enemies.
Visitors. What do you mean by that?
He means that we should acknowledge these emotions when they arise, observe them with curiosity, and try to understand what they're trying to tell us.
So instead of pushing them away or trying to ignore them, we should welcome them in and listen to their message.
Exactly. Thich Nhat Hanh suggests asking ourselves questions like, what is this feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? What caused it to arise?
I can see how that could help us understand our emotional landscape better. But what happens when those emotions are really intense and uncomfortable?
Well, Thich Nhat Hanh teaches a practice called sitting with difficult emotions. This involves simply allowing the emotion to be present without judgment, observing it with compassion and mindfulness.
That sounds really hard.
It can be challenging, yes,
Yeah.
but it becomes easier with practice. Think of it like tending to a wound. You wouldn't ignore a wound or pretend it wasn't there. You would gently clean it, bandage it, and allow it to heal.
That's a really helpful way to think about it. So we're essentially applying the same principles of care and attention to our emotional wounds.
Exactly. And by sitting with those difficult emotions, we can gradually learn to work with them skillfully, rather than being overwhelmed by them.
I'm starting to see how mindfulness can be a powerful tool for self-regulation. But what about its impact on our relationships? Can mindfulness help us be more present and connected with the people we care about?
That's a wonderful question, and one that Thich Nhat Hanh addresses extensively in his teachings. He believed that practicing mindfulness makes us more available not only to ourselves, but also to our loved ones, enhancing our capacity for connection and compassion.
So it's not just about looking inward,
Uh,
but also about extending that awareness outward to our relationships.
Absolutely. When we're more present, we're more attuned to the needs and feelings of others. We listen more deeply, communicate more effectively, and cultivate greater empathy.
I can definitely see how being more present in my interactions could make my relationship stronger. But how do we actually do that? Are there specific techniques we can use?
Yes, Thich Nhat Hanh suggests practicing mindful listening. When someone is speaking to you, give them your full attention. Resist the urge to interrupt or plan your response. Instead, simply listen with an open heart and mind.
That sounds so simple. Yet I know I'm often guilty of thinking about what I'm going to say next instead of truly listening.
We all do it. It
Yeah.
takes practice to cultivate mindful listening. Another technique Thich Nhat Hanh recommends is mindful speech. Before you speak, pause. And consider the impact your words will have. Choose words that are kind, truthful, and beneficial.
That's such a powerful reminder. Words can have such a profound impact, both positive and negative. It's important to be mindful of how we use them. But what about those times when conflicts arise in our relationships? How can mindfulness help us navigate those tricky situations?
Well, Thich Nhat Hanh emphasized approaching conflict with compassion and understanding. Instead of blaming or criticizing, try to see the situation from the other person's perspective. Remember that everyone is doing the best they can with the resources they have.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's so easy to get defensive and reactive when we feel attacked or misunderstood.
I know. It takes practice to respond with mindfulness instead of reactivity, but the rewards are well worth the effort. Mindful communication can help us resolve conflicts peacefully and strengthen our bonds with others.
I'm really starting to see how mindfulness can ripple out from our individual practice to positively impact our relationships and the world around us.
It's a beautiful ripple effect, and it all starts with cultivating that inner awareness and presence.
This has been such an insightful exploration. I'm feeling inspired to put these practices into action.
That's wonderful to hear. And remember, mindfulness is a journey, not a destination. Be kind to yourself along the way.
I will. I'll keep that in mind. Before we wrap up our deep dive into mindfulness, let's take a moment to recap what we've learned and highlight some key takeaways for our listeners.
Yep.
Welcome back to True Mind. We've been on quite a journey, exploring the art of mindfulness. For those simple breathing techniques to the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah, it's been so fascinating to see how mindfulness can be a part of every aspect of our lives, from stress to connecting with others.
For sure. I'm feeling inspired, ready to bring these practices into my own life. But as we wrap up, I'm curious, what are some key takeaways that our listeners can use on their own journey toward mindfulness?
Well, one of the most important things to remember is that mindfulness is not a destination. It's a practice, an ongoing process of cultivating awareness and presence.
So it's not about achieving some perfect state of Zen.
No, not at all. It's about noticing when our minds wander, gently bringing our attention back to the present moment, and being kind to ourselves.
That makes me feel better. It sounds a lot more attainable that way. Any specific tips for making mindfulness a part of our daily routine?
Oh, absolutely. Remember those mini meditations we discussed? Try incorporating those into your day. Bring mindfulness to everyday activities like showering, eating, walking, even just taking a few conscious breaths before you start your workday can make a difference.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that. What about those times when we're feeling really stressed or overwhelmed? Any advice for navigating those moments mindfully?
Remember that analogy of the loving mother tending to her crying baby? Approach your emotions with that same care and understanding. Sit with them, observe them, try to understand their message. Don't judge yourself for feeling what you feel.
Yeah, it's like we're becoming our own inner therapist.
You got it. And remember, mindfulness is a skill that develops over time with practice. So don't get discouraged if your mind wanders, or you find it challenging to stay present at first. Just keep returning to your breath, returning to the sensations of the present moment, and to that self-compassion.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. I'm walking away with so much new information about mindfulness and a toolbox of practices to help me live a more present and fulfilling life.
That's wonderful. And remember, mindfulness is a gift you give to yourself, an investment in your well-being, your relationships, and your overall experience of life.
Thank you for joining us on this first deep dive into True Mind. We hope you'll continue to explore the world of mindfulness with us. And before we sign off, we'd like to leave you with one final question. What small change can you make today to become more present in your life? Perhaps try one of the mini meditations we talked about, or simply take a few conscious breaths every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to experiencing the transformative power of mindfulness.
Until next time, may you find peace and presence in each moment.
And may your mind be true.